Welcome to the second Inclusive Youth Leadership Training, Me as a Leader. During this training, you will learn how to identify your strengths and share those strengths with teammates, gain an understanding of the importance of key leadership skills, build confidence in yourself as a leader, as well as inspire confidence in others, and lastly, identify the areas in which you should lean on the strengths of others. Throughout the training, questions will be posed to you. Feel free to pause the video at any point to reflect and take notes. This will be helpful for you as we continue on through the Inclusive Youth Leadership trainings. Now let's kick things off by hearing from some youth leaders on what makes them strong leaders.
Hi, my name is Sahajit Hilera, and I am a U.S. Youth Ambassador with Special Olympics North America, and I am also an intern with Special Olympics North America. What makes me a leader is that I make sure that none of my friends are left out and that they are included in everything that is going on in our schools and in the community.
Hi, my name is Evie Sly. I am from Special Olympics, Iowa, and I am a U.S. Youth Ambassador. I like to stand up for what I believe in. I think that makes me a great leader. I also have great communication and listening skills, and when working with a team, you want others to feel welcome and you want everyone's ideas to be heard. So you need to be kind and have trust within your team, and I have all of those, so I think that's what makes me a great leader.
Hi everybody, my name is Jackson Escamilla and I'm one of the U.S. Youth Ambassadors for Special Olympics, and I have some qualities I have for being a good leader is I think I'm kind and friendly and easy to approach. I'm an advocate for everybody, and if I see somebody not being included, I'll probably encourage them to come and get involved with the conversation. I'm very vocal and I take everybody's ideas into account, so I think those are some qualities that I have, and hope you guys are having a great day.
Hi, my name is Maya, and I'm a good leader because I've always been very confident, and I think people feed off of my confidence. I'm also a good listener. I always try and make sure that everyone's ideas are heard, make sure they feel like they had an input into whatever we're doing. This is very important because good leaders don't try and control everything. Everything should be a group effort with the leader's guidance.
Hi, my name is Lise Whittemore, and I'm a senior at Auburn High School in Auburn, Massachusetts, and I'm a Special Olympics U.S. Youth Ambassador for the Northeast region. I think that what makes me a leader is my ability to lead by example. I necessarily, when I'm at school, I'm not always the loudest person in the room or the first person to speak up, but I do always try to make sure that I am leading by example and setting an example for other people.
I'm a good leader because I have a positive attitude, like working with others, good with details and schedules, working with others as a team, and motivating people to be successful.
Now that you've seen other youth leaders identify their leadership strengths, we can begin exploring how you can do so as well. As you continue on your inclusive youth leadership journey, there are 4 skills that will be important for your success. You will need to be able to listen, empower, adapt, and diversify, or in other words, lead. Let's take a closer look at each of these skills. As we go through these skills, please feel free to reflect and take notes. You will need these later on. As a leader, it is incredibly important to build respectful relationships with all those around you. The first step to doing this is to listen to others when they share their thoughts, feelings, or ideas. In the first training, you learned what it means to be an active listener and how to engage with whoever you are speaking with so they know you are truly listening. That applies here as well. Additionally, it is important to be open to the thoughts and ideas shared with you by your peers. When you listen to others, you earn their trust. It will also help you to learn from them. Together, you can then work with each other towards a shared goal.
I remember a time when one of my friends was going through something and no one wanted to listen to her. They just wanted to talk to her. So when she came to me, I had to think of a time when someone listened to me instead of doing all of the talking. And I thought of that time and I started to listen to what she was talking about, because it's important for us to have that listening ear instead of always trying to talk all the time. It's always important for us to be there for our teammate when our teammates need us or when our friend needs us also.
Another important part of being an inclusive youth leader is empowering others by including them in a meaningful way. This means you encourage your teammates or peers to take the lead on a task, project, or conversation. Let them know that you support them and trust in their strengths, abilities, and unique leadership styles.
Hi, my name's Evie Sly. This year, my unified team was not recognized at our school-wide assembly with all the other sports. Usually they call down the sports to the gym floor and somebody from the team gets to share about their successes. And at our first assembly this year in October, our team was not called down as a sport because they didn't recognize us that way. And I made sure that when the second school assembly happened in December, that our unified basketball and bowling teams were both recognized because we are the best sports at that school, and I wanted everyone to know that. I think another time that I empowered a teammate was when we had our unified club get to carry the flag in front of our whole entire stadium at a football game. My friend Daniel carried the TRHS flag, and we had our unified team storm the field with the football team following behind us, and I think it sent a great message, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Learning how to adapt as a leader may be one of the most important skills. To adapt means to change your behavior or plan to adjust to new requirements to make something better. That may sound a little confusing, so here's an example. Let's say that your club plans to meet at someone's house, and let's say to get into this house, you need to go up a staircase. If one of your members is in a wheelchair, is this a good plan? No, this plan would need to be adapted to make it inclusive of all members. In this case, to adapt, you would need to find a new meeting location that has an elevator or a ramp. An inclusive youth leader should be able to make it easy for people of all abilities and learning styles to be a part of something. This may require some creativity. It can look like changing the timeline of a project so as to be able to involve more teammates, changing the location of your meeting to be in an accessible room, or perhaps using different ways to communicate, such as sign language or assistive technology. Being able to adapt will make you more able to include all of your teammates and therefore make you an even stronger leader.
A time where I helped my team adapt to a setup or game to make it more accessible for others was when I did my youth innovation grant where I taught bocce ball to elementary students. We did not know the physical and mental abilities of the participants. We had 8 stations, and student leaders like myself were running each station for elementary students with and without intellectual disabilities. We had to pre-plan physical adaptations to the stations, and everyone could be successful and have a fun time. Some of the ways we adapted the stations were size of the bocce balls, weight of the bocce balls, color of the bocce balls, target size, distance to target, physical assistance such as hand over hand, and longer and shorter distances. We had to practice different scenarios, that way we were prepared for the elementary students and we knew how to adapt to their needs. In addition to the skills of bocce ball, we had to adapt to different behaviors. We were able to use partnerships to help with the elementary students. When we had trouble connecting, we were able to ask our teacher for advice on ways to engage the students and not the behavior. When I see the word adapt, I hear the definition to modify. Modifying activities so that everyone can be successful and everyone can be involved and participate in an inclusive environment.
The last skill we will look at is how to diversify your leadership. To diversify your leadership means you should aim to always have an open mind and be willing to consider new perspectives or ideas. Your ability to work with people of all walks of life is very important. In order to do so, you must learn to be flexible in what you believe is the right way to lead. As an inclusive youth leader, you should always be thinking in new and different ways. Always try to learn from others and explore the world outside your comfort zone.
A time that I had an open mind and really wanted to learn from others was definitely my entire freshman year. Right from the beginning of freshman year, I was always looking to broaden my horizon and become involved with as many different things as I could. So definitely one area that I really wanted to look into was the Unified Champion Schools program. I had been a part of a unified club, friendship club at my school earlier in the year, but when it came to a unified sport, I had never heard of a unified sport and I had never been a part of a unified sport. So come spring of my freshman year, I decided to join the unified track team, and I was one of 3 freshmen, and the other 2 freshmen I didn't even know very well. So I had no friends on the team, and I didn't know any of the upperclassmen either because I had come from a different school. So I really was going in knowing nothing, and I joined the team and I loved it. I was quickly able to make friends. I was able to learn from the upperclassmen and really be able to follow their lead and what they're doing. I definitely know that at the beginning of joining the unified track team, I wasn't 100% set on it. I didn't know if that was definitely something I wanted to do or would love, but in the end, I absolutely loved it, and it became one of the best experiences that I've ever had.
Regardless of age, ability, gender, or background, it can be hard for anyone to feel fully confident in themselves as a leader, and that is okay. Feeling unsure of ourselves at times is a part of being human. What is important is that we are able to overcome these challenges in a healthy way. Let's take a look at 4 ways you can build confidence in yourself as a leader. The first trick to building confidence in yourself as a leader is to think of every loss, mistake, or failure as a lesson. Everyone makes mistakes. When things do not go the way we planned, it can be easy to feel very alone and feel like you have failed. But without losses and failures, we would never be able to learn and grow. Each loss can be a lesson for how to improve in the future. In your inclusive youth leadership journey, focus on the lessons, not the losses. When you make a mistake, whether it is big or small, think of it as a chance to learn rather than a setback.
Hi, my name is Maya, and I will be sharing a time that I made a mistake and I learned from it. So it was my freshman year of high school, and I think everyone stresses that your freshman year is like your most important year, and it's where you should focus on school and make sure your grades are where you want them to be. Unfortunately for me, that wasn't the case. I think I became more consumed with my social life and friends and extracurriculars and sports, the sports that I was playing, and I just didn't focus on school as much as I know I needed to. And so the end of the year came around and I got my grades, and they weren't what I expected them to be and what I expected of myself, like in school. Because I was a freshman coming out of junior high, I had always had all A's. School was never really hard for me. So at the end of my freshman year, I received my first D. I hate admitting it, but it's what happened. That was probably one of my biggest mistakes that I made during high school, because I just lost track of where I should be and what I should be doing in school, and I had to hold myself accountable for not trying hard enough and not focusing enough. From that, I learned that I had to learn how to balance all of my extracurriculars and sports and friends with schoolwork, because that was my priority. I also learned that you had to fail in order to succeed. I probably wouldn't have ever noticed that I had like a problem with procrastination if I didn't see that what I was doing and how I was going about like studying and doing homework and turning in work like was wrong. So I had to work on that and just get better at holding myself accountable for turning in my assignments and staying on top of all of my schoolwork.
The next trick in learning how to be confident in yourself as a leader is to stop comparing yourself to others. What do you think of when you think about competition? Maybe it's your favorite sports team or your siblings. When we think about competition, we often think about competing with the people around us. But in fact, your biggest competitor is yourself. Looking at what everyone else is doing and constantly comparing yourself to them is a major distraction from your own growth. Instead of comparing yourself to others, simply focus on being better than you were yesterday.
I remember a time when I was just starting high school. It was my 9th grade year, and I was trying to compete with this one girl on who was the better public speaker. I knew she was a good public speaker, but I just wanted to challenge her. I did not even care what we were speaking about or where we were speaking. I was just worried about who was doing better. I was extremely competitive back then because I didn't want to let anyone else win. I was always putting people down in competition, trying to be the best. In this case, I wanted to do everything this girl was doing, but better. Then when I became a U.S. Youth Ambassador and a youth leader with Special Olympics Florida, I stopped being so worried about competing with others. Instead, I started to focus on getting better at the things that I used to worry about when competing against others. Your biggest competitor is yourself. It's no one else but you. Instead of you trying to compete with others, just focus on being a better you than you were yesterday.
The next trick might seem counterintuitive, but it is an important part of learning how to be a strong leader. All leaders need support, regardless of their strengths. Do not ever be afraid to ask others for help when you need it. Trying to do everything on your own can actually hurt your confidence. You might lose sight of your own strengths and forget that it is okay to need things from others. Asking for help is an act of confidence that helps us to be strong leaders.
Hi everybody, my name is Jackson and I'm one of the U.S. Youth Ambassadors for Special Olympics North America. And I just wanted to talk about an experience I had, this year. And, I have so many of me working with a group of a team, and this one that I'm about to say specifically kind of stood out, and I was actually creating this t-shirt right here. We made it for our Unified Club this year, and I was designing it at the time, and I was having issues like, oh man, I really don't know what to do it about, so I kind of leaned back onto my Unified Leadership Board at my school, and I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna do a vote, let's talk about this new shirt for this year. And this was gonna go out to people around the whole district, so I wanted it to look pretty good. So I was like, all right, everybody, what do you guys think of this college kind of style, or what do you think of just some other ideas, and font size and color of the t-shirt, just a bunch of stuff. And I was really lost, and I finally came up with an idea when it came to talking to all of my friends and stuff, and they really helped me kind of narrow down the color of the shirt, how big you want the font, stuff like that. So this was kind of an important time. And I also want to share another story. So I also last year's Unified 5K, because we have one every year, I was helping plan that with the leadership board then, and I mean it's a couple months it takes to get it together, and gotta get permits and all that, and I really had to rely on these people on this leadership board at the time, and it's just so much work, and I definitely couldn't do it without their help. And I'm so grateful that I have such amazing friends and people in the leadership board who are willing to help and who love to spread the word of inclusion and do amazing things, like if it's making a t-shirt or, you know, making a 5K and just getting boring permits and stuff like that. But that was definitely one of the 2 highlights that I've had with working with a team and leaning on people instead of, you know, kind of taking it on my own. So I'll see you guys later.
The last trick in gaining confidence in yourself as a leader is to lift up others. Think about a time that you helped someone else. How did that make you feel? Usually, when we help others, it is not only beneficial to them, but also to us. When we do kind things for others, it can make us feel happy and confident. By supporting your teammates and celebrating their wins, you will actually become stronger and more confident in yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Savannah Rock and I am a U.S. Youth Ambassador for Special Olympics North America. And I'm here to talk to you guys about lifting up others and share a little memory with you. A memory I have is from high school. One of my best friends, he would tend to get very overwhelmed and very agitated and not happy and just not have good days sometimes. And I saw that and I was like, okay, this needs to change. He deserves pure happiness. He deserves to be happy because he's a great guy. So we just went on walks. We had breathing exercises. He got to tell me about all his favorite shows and all of his favorite TV, all his favorite movies, and that's all he needed. He just needed someone to talk to him. He just needed deep breaths exercises and just get away a little bit and just talk to a friend. And that's just the most important aspect. Talk to your friends, lift up others, lift up your classmates, your teammates. It's very important. If you can give someone happiness, then that's all that there is. That's all that it needs. Lifting up others is very important. When you lift up others, you lift up yourself as well. And everyone deserves happiness. There's no need for negativity ever. And so if you can give that, if you can just give someone to be happy and just to lift them up, and when they're having a bad day, then that's the biggest reward of all.
We have now come to the end of your second Inclusive Youth Leadership Training. We covered a lot of things and heard from many different youth leaders. To wrap things up, here are some of the key takeaways. First, it is important to identify the things that we enjoy or pick up easily. These are indicators of our strengths. Once we identify our strengths, it is also important to know that being confident in our leadership means also leaning on others who bring something to the table that we do not. It is perfectly normal to feel unsure of ourselves at times. We can overcome that feeling by changing our mindset, supporting others, and embracing our team. In order to be a successful, inclusive youth leader, we must be willing to listen, empower, adapt, and diversify. In other words, we must be willing to lead. Congratulations on completing the second Inclusive Youth Leadership Training. You are now halfway through the Inclusive Youth Leadership course. The final thing you will need to do now is complete your exit ticket. This can be submitted through the link found below the video. Using the link, send us your answers to the following questions. What lead skill are you good at? What lead skill do you want to improve? Remember, you can go back in the video if you need a reminder on these skills.